What's going on, everyone from LowKick MMA? My name is Dane Podolsky, and I'm joined with Brad Katona. He just became the first ever two-time Ultimate Fighter finale winner with his win over Cody Gibson at UFC 292 in Boston. Brad, how you doing? And thank you so much for taking the time.
As you can imagine, I'm doing pretty dang good. I think we're a week out now from the fight, and almost all the bruising's gone from my face. I'm basically back to 100%. So, uh, yeah, I'm just soaking it all in and enjoying it.
Hey, I mean, the face looks good, and you know, long term, are there any other injuries you suffered from that, or can we see you back in the octagon soon?
Honestly, for a fight of the night, you think I'd be a little bit worse for wear. I've heard Cody is, but thankfully for me, I was like, is this really what being in a fight of the night gets you? Like a black eye and maybe a sore hand, and both those things are basically 100% now. So uh, it worked out well. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that.
Heading into that fight, did you see it being, such a swing and bang type barn burner of a fight?
I certainly didn't. I don't know if anybody did. Cody's not necessarily the one who fights like that, and I'd say, well, in some ways, I am looking at the Timur Valiev fight. If you look at my brave title defense against Gamzat, I've been in kind of similar fights like that before, but Cody just kept putting on the pressure and kept taking the shots. I guess I kept taking the shots too, but I'm turning into a stubborn old man, I guess. So I didn't expect it, but looking back on it too, I don't really know what Cody's path to victory would have been if that wasn't it.
Mhm. Did anything that he showed you surprise you?
Honestly, just the fact that he kept eating those shots and kept up the pace as long as he did. In his Ray Borg fight, I was watching that fight very closely. Again, you have a guy similar size to me fighting Cody, who's a tall, lanky, large bantamweight. And you see Cody start off extremely hot. Even the commentary says, man, this is the best Cody Gibson has ever looked. And then round two, he crashes. This time, he started round one hot. Round two came in and he kept that pace going. I actually felt him start accelerating in round two. And that's where I knew, oh, he's going to crash. And thankfully, it was in the last 2 minutes you saw just the tide completely change. I heard him, and I probably heard him because of some of that fatigue. You didn't see the shot, and then it was just pushing that snowball down the hill. And it was just getting worse and worse for Cody. So I didn't expect him to keep that pace for as long as he did, but hey, I can keep up with the best of them.
And I gotta ask, when you're looking at your bank account, how nice is it to see that additional 50K?
I honestly haven't checked my bank account yet, but in the back of your head, knowing, hey, we're good.
Mhm.
Uh, this is the first time in about 4 years where I actually have some stability in my life. And 4 years ago was when I moved into my new apartment in Ireland, and I think it was in October, and just things were peaceful for about a week, and then I got the UFC release, and then we'll call it the string of bad luck kept rolling, and it kind of shook up my life since then. So to have a little bit of stability now, it's not one where I'm like, okay, I kick the feet up and relax, but maybe that is why I don't have a big hurrah after this win. It's not like you'd think you're electrified, but it was really like oh, the weight of the world kind of just falling off your shoulders for a little bit. But maybe it's just me, but I'm starting to stack that pressure up now, going, okay, how do we keep this going, and how do we work towards that belt?
And what do you think's been the biggest change for you since your first run the promotion, heading into it now and becoming the first time to win the Ultimate Fighter twice?
I'd say John and I had a really good formula when I was in the UFC. We
Mhm.
had a very good formula. We just didn't have enough time. I think it got cut short. It was like, oh, okay, we're doing the right things. I went from getting wrestled to Marab to wrestling Hunter. And then you fast forward a couple of years, and then I'm shutting down almost all of Gamzat Magomedov 8-1 Dagestani wrestler, IMAF world champion, almost all of his takedowns. So you could see where we learn from our mistakes. Like you can see that we fixed a lot of things. So we were on the right formula. But I feel like maybe in some ways we were missing something.
Mhm.
And when we brought in Dave Roach, my striking coach, it's not just the striking aspect. It's not just the techniques. It's the nastiness. It's the bumping elbows. It's the little knees, and you really see that start appearing in the Gamzat fight. And now it's really starting to mature. I believe I landed 2 on Cody. I cut him with the first one. I may have hurt him with the second one. It's this stuff's starting to come into my game. And the best part about it, and what I'm really excited about, is we spent so long to make a foundation. We stripped my striking down to nothing and started rebuilding it like Lego. And then that's allowed us to actually excel right now. We're improving much faster now than we were in the beginning. And it's because that work we put in. So, if you see me in 3-4 months, I'm going to look like a completely different fighter. And that is, well, as long as I do what I do and that show up and work every day. And it's exciting. You see, it brings a natural smile to my face. I'm not faking it. I'm just excited for the future because, man, we're building something really cool.
I mean, can't help but be excited after getting a win like that. And just going forward, when can we expect to see you now that's been like a week healed from your injuries? When can we expect to see you next? And what are your goals for the end of 2023?
The goal remains the same. Well, chasing that UFC belt, I've worked with a very good sports psychologist, Dr. Jason Brooks, and he wanted a lot about this fight to be us shrinking it down. We could talk about the athlete. You win the Ultimate Fighter twice. That's so cool. That's you're back in the UFC, but that's not our end goal. So we really looked at the best bantamweights in the world. We want to be chasing that title, and that helped us shrink down this opportunity to what it was. If we're living up here with the world champions, Cody Gibson's down here, and that's nothing against Cody, but that's just where we're living. That's how we're operating. That's the level of excellence that we need to keep up. So what's next? What am I doing next? Well, exactly that. I am living up here with the very best of them, and working backwards from there. And what does that look like? Well, there's a big pay-per-view in December. If that opportunity comes up, absolutely, let's hop on that. If there's a Canadian card, awesome. Let's do that as well. Or instead, really, we're talking about such great problems when in January the question was, why doesn't UFC want me? Why am I not in the Ultimate Fighter house? What the heck am I even going to do now? Like, do I just defend my belt for a second time and then what? What's the means to an end? So we're talking about really, really good problems right now, and I don't know what is next, but we're in exciting times, and I can't wait to show it off again.
Is there one name that stands out to you?
Honestly, no. Now that I'm here again, I was living up here. The Aljamain Sterlings, the Sean O'Malleys, the Marabs, the Cheeto Veras, the Corey Sandhagens, like that's where I've been living. And so yeah, those names stand out to me. Everybody else, and that's not looking past them. There's a lot of really, really great fighters. Obvious. It's the UFC we're in. But for me to really take a look at the roster, I'm going to need to sit down and start scoping out some targets. But really, it's we know what the goal is, so it doesn't really matter who that next person is.
Looking at your division, what do you think of Sean O'Malley knocking out Aljamain Sterling? I know you're probably not, I mean, you're not in the title picture yet, but obviously that's where you want to get to. And how do you see yourself in a potential matchup with him down the road?
I think it was very impressive what he did. How can you not? Aljamain Sterling. The thing that made Aljamain Sterling the champion is his ability to show up consistently at the highest level. Anybody can have a night here or there, but he shows up consistently and wins fights against the best bantamweights in the world. Well, when Sean O'Malley goes out and knocks him out, you go, that's a feat. That's a feat. So I think Sean O'Malley's an extremely intelligent guy. He's surrounded himself with a lot of great people. He has a great team behind him, and it's not by accident. You see the Sean O'Malley, smoking the weed and with the hair, and that you see the clown act, but it's an act. Like if you think that's what he's doing day in day out, I wouldn't be surprised if he was back to work on the Monday. It just he seems like that type of guy, very intelligent. It was an impressive performance. But how do I match up with him? Well, I think I offer a lot of the similar thrusts that Aljamain does. Maybe not just purely the size. I'm not as tall and as long as him, but I got striking and I got hands, and I think I have all those things that Aljamain we saw without Aljamain didn't quite have the boxing. Hence, he overextends and walks onto that that shot. It was a beautiful shot, but it was from, I believe, Aljamain Sterling's lack of maybe some boxing there, maybe some desperation to get it to the ground, and that's what you're not going to find in me. So I think I match up well with O'Malley. It's just, again, my job is to do exactly what Aljamain does, perform at the highest level consistently, and that's what I'm focused on.
Let me ask you, how would you compare sort of the rise of Sean O'Malley to the rise of your teammate Conor McGregor in terms it's similar in a way of like they both had these big knockout shots, both were super hyped before becoming the champion, and now that they are the champion, it just feels like they're on top of the world.
Absolutely, there's a lot of similarity, and we could say the talk or anything. What it came down to is they delivered.
Mhm.
You can talk all of that, but if Conor went out and eked out a decision against Jose Aldo, it wouldn't be quite the same. He knocked him out 13 seconds. O'Malley wasn't 13 seconds, but knocking out Aljamain Sterling, I don't know if that has ever happened before, and especially in that fashion. So um, he delivered. So it makes all the haters shut their mouth, because when you deliver like that, what can you say? What can you say? It was a very, very good job, and you know, congratulations to Sean. Like that's exactly what he needed to do.
And for you, having gone through the Ultimate Fighter twice, you've been coached by some of the best fighters in the world, Dana Cormier, Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler. Which coach has been like the most helpful for you of those three?
In all honesty, if we're looking at the team itself, I'd have to go with Connor. I was only there for about a week on his team, but he brought in a world class team of coaches. He brought in a nutritionist and Tristan Kennedy, so he had his guys all everything dialed in for the weight cut. So 8 fighters dialing in the weight cut. It's pretty difficult. It's pretty difficult, especially having to make weight twice. Heck, I was the ninth on the team, so it was really impressive what Tristan did. He brought in an athletic therapist to work on his guys, massage, anything you needed. He brought in a chef. He for the reload. So after you're cutting weight, you don't need to worry about cooking in. Now it's a large kitchen, but when you have 16 fighters in one kitchen, cooking's a bit of a pain in the butt. So again, giving you all the meals that way, you're fully reloaded, ready to go by fight time. All those resources, it was exactly what you'd expect from a Formula One team. Every little thing, every little advantage you could take, he took it. And at least speaking for us athletes, man, did I appreciate that. It was really nice to go, oh, I'm getting picked up at 5 a.m. for my weight cut. Tristan's there. He already told me exactly what we're doing, what I need to do all week. My weight's in a great spot, smooth weight cut, amazing reload. And I felt amazing on fight day, even though it's my second fight in 10 days. And, my path to the Ultimate Fighter was very short notice. So it was a crash diet to make weight, compete, reload, fight again, and to have that all orchestrated by a great nutritionist. And again, yeah, we can say Connor's rich. Of course, he can bring in whoever he wants, but he still did. And I think that needs to get a lot of credit. Maybe he wasn't there at weigh-ins. Who cares? When you had a nutritionist cutting your weight, I had to run when I was on Team Chandler. I need to run a bathtub to cut weight when there was no hot water in the house. So it's like, what would you rather have, the coach there or orchestrated and he's refueled. There's a man for the job, and Conor brought in the right guys for the right job.
And clearly, Conor McGregor, for the people who are saying that he wasn't, a very good coach, clearly he helped out by bringing in all the people he did. How long was Conor himself actually there for the filming?
Conor was there the entire season for the filming. Now I was only on Conor's team for a handful of days, really. It might have been less than 7 days. And we could say, oh, he brought in guys and didn't do anything. No, he still was coaching. He was still present. You saw him on fight days as animated as anybody else, giving his guys whatever he could give them. But come fight time, do you want a fighter in your corner or do you want a coach in your corner? Me, I'll take a coach any day. You know, that is why Michael Chandler brought in coaches. He brought in Jason Stroud. He brought in, Bob Cook. He brought in all of these guys. That way they could coach as well. Conor did the same thing. He just knew these guys know a lot more than I do in this one discipline. Let's bring these guys. Why would he be at weigh-ins when he has a nutritionist formulating your rehydration shakes and who walked you through the weigh-in process? I feel like all that is all show. What does it matter when the guy shows up when you need him? Not necessarily to every event. That's just me. Moving on to Team McGregor. Yeah, my coach was there, John Kavanagh. My nutritionist Tristan Kennedy was there. There's a lot of comfort personally, but for everyone else, man, it must have been nice to be treated like the professional athlete you are and have the resources that, again, you'd expect a Formula One team or an NBA team. Like these major sports to have.
How do you think that fight plays out between Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler? And do you think it happens?
I think it's the Eddie Alvarez fight all over again. Personally, I don't see any other way than that happening. And does it happen again? I can only everything I'm seeing. Before my fight, Conor was in the gym training, so doing the team practices. He's kicking things up. He seems excited about it on fight night. He said, "Okay, time to go to bed. I'll watch the rest of the fights in the morning." He seems to be taking it very seriously. I know he's out somewhere with teammates of mine training, so I think it happens because man, he's passionate, and when he finds something, when he finds a direction, he sprints down that he sprints that way. So I really think it's happening, and like I said, I think it's the Eddie Alvarez fight all again.
Fair enough. Well, Brad, thank you so much for taking the time. And once again, congratulations. An absolute barn burner of a fight. Fight of the night against Cody Gibson. You became the second, you became the first ever fighter to win the Ultimate Fighter twice. And just my final question, how much did the energy from the Boston crowd give you, and how would that compare to other crowds you've been in?
That was a pretty amazing crowd. I'm not going to lie, like especially going, I think from the second to the third, I just felt them in me, and I felt Cody starting to quit, and it was like, man, we are going to pierce just right through him now, and it was really nice that at least for a fighter like myself, we were on the prelims. We were the first fight on we'll call it the main prelims, not the early prelims, and the arena was packed, and they came bringing the energy, and they came bringing the energy to the end of the card, and it's a very very fond memory to look back on. And man, Boston is a cool city. I like Boston a lot, so I'll hopefully be returning. But thanks for the time. It's been a pleasure talking with you. It's good times ahead. It's really exciting. So thank you.
Pleasure's all mine. Brad, thank you so much for taking the time. If you have any socials or teammates you want to shout out, here's your chance.
I just want to thank everybody who's been behind me for this journey. It's been a grind to get here. It's been an absolute grind to get here, and I was watching my career almost have a slow bleed. I was winning, but yet I wasn't getting the same respect because it wasn't in the UFC, it wasn't with one of the major organizations, but we're here now, and I had some really special people behind me, and if you're new, I'll take you. You're welcome aboard. There's plenty of room on the Brad Katona train.
Well, Brad, once again, congratulations, becoming the first ever two-time TUF winner. Fight of the night against Cody Gibson. For me, attendance was my favorite fight of the night. And once again, just congratulations. Thank you so much for taking the time, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.